boxing truth here. Eddie Hearn is perhaps a little shook in making a possible Anthony Joshua Hughie Fury fight, the cousin of Tyson Fury. Now, there's been a lot of pressure being put on Eddie Hearn by the Fury family, especially by Peter Fury, as Eddie Hearn has been talking shit, telling the boxing world that Hughie Fury didn't want that work with Anthony Joshua when he's been offered the fight. And it's true. Peter Fury has confirmed that Hughie Fury has turned down the fight with Anthony Joshua in the past. But Peter Fury suggests that they only turned it down because of the health issues Hughie Fury's been going through, that he's been operating at less than 50% in the past couple of his fights, which could be true. He looked like shit his last fight against Fred Cassie. Ended up being a technical decision due to a cut Fury received, but it wasn't a good performance. But now Peter Fury is all in for this bout. He's putting pressure on Eddie Hearn to make it, saying that if the financials are right, they will definitely take the fight now, because he feels Hughie's ready to challenge for a world title, and he's 100%, or at least healthy enough to challenge a fighter like Anthony Joshua for his IBF strap. But Eddie Hearn may be having second thoughts of putting this fight together because of the investment Anthony Joshua has with Showtime. Showtime already has a plan with him. They want him to come to America sometime next year, early next year perhaps, and then eventually marinate a fight with Deontay Wilder in a unification in what will be a pay-per-view fight in the U.S. So, even though Joshua has a lot of promise, a lot of potential, Eddie Hearn still has to be careful in rolling the dice with certain opponents in order for not one of these opponents to possibly derail the Anthony Joshua Express and ruin all the plans Showtime has for him with their investment in him. So Eddie Hearn has yet to reach out to Peter Fury and say that the fight can be made. They are talking, but there are other options out there for Anthony Joshua, of course. There's the Bermane-Stavern fight, Wild the Leftovers. There's the Pulev fight that they're also discussing. And both of those guys are experienced, seasoned. One of them's been very too inactive, hasn't been doing shit ever since he lost his belt to Wilder in Stavern. And Pulev is coming off a solid win, some momentum going into the fight. And he's a contender, top rated, at least a top 10 heavyweight. And he has a style to make it a very interesting, very entertaining fight. And where Anthony Joshua can look absolutely explosive with an opponent like Pulev. So Eddie Hearn's probably thinking Hughie Fury perhaps is the bigger fight. He's a UK opponent, a name in the UK, the cousin of Tyson Fury, who is also a potential opponent for Anthony Joshua down the line. It will be a good promotion. The Furies will talk a lot of shit. Tyson will be up front and center at the press conferences, throwing insult at Anthony Joshua, calling him a protected paper champ, and that his cousin Hughie's going to whip his ass. It'll probably be a bigger money fight. But Hughie Fury might be the most technically sound boxer Anthony Joshua will have faced thus far. A kid who was undefeated, only 21 years old, going on 22, 20-0, 10 knockouts. Not coming off really a good performance, but the guy can box a little. He's got some footwork. He's got a good jab. He's got a good right hand. He goes to the body very well. He's around the same height as Anthony Joshua. He's a little smaller, though. He's not as dynamic offensively as Anthony Joshua, and I wouldn't say he's as powerful. I would still favor Anthony Joshua in this fight. But stylistically, it could be a much tougher fight compared to a Stavern, who's 37 years old, possibly overweight, not coming off any momentum if he were to take an Anthony Joshua fight. Probably be a one-sided beatdown in Anthony Joshua's favor. Pulev will be an action fight, but he's a robotic. He stands in the pocket. he's not going to be much hard to find for Anthony Joshua and could set up for an explosive knockout, potentially in a fight with Pulev. But with Fury, he's the name opponent in the UK. His cousin is the heavyweight champion of the world, who's also a potential opponent for Joshua. There'll be a lot of shit talking, a great promotion, and it would possibly do bigger numbers than the Joshua Charles Martin pay-per-view in the UK. So, maybe higher risk, but a higher reward. Or go with the more seasoned opponent, but with a style that suits Anthony Joshua a lot better. And Kurat Pulev. And possibly get a very explosive win, a knockout win, that would create a lot of intrigue for Joshua's future bouts. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Which one do you prefer? Which opponent do you prefer for Joshua's next fight? Hearn? Pulev? Or would you guys be interested in the Hughie Fury fight? Fury's very young. He shows some promise. He's signed to Frank Warren. He fights on Box Nation, so politically it could be a difficult fight to make, but Fury is down for the fight. Frank Warren has always stated if the money's right, if the deal is fair, he has no issues with any of his fighters fighting on Eddie Hearn's network, Sky. As long as they get a fair shake with the deal, the finances are right. He has no problem in making fights with Eddie Hearn. Does not try to block fights as long as the offer is fair. He has no problem with Hughie going over to Sky to fight Anthony Joshua in what would be a big UK domestic fight between two young heavyweights. One's a champion and one's up and coming. But we'll see what happens. Looks like Eddie Hearn might be having second doubts, or maybe he's more interested in matching Joshua with a better, more easier style to deal with. A guy who's going to come forward, be right there to be hit, but who's an experienced opponent. And Joshua will still get a recognition and props if he was to straight up trash an opponent like Pulev. But I really have no preference. I don't mind the Hughie Fury fight. The fight I don't want is Hearn. I think that fight is trash. It's a waste of time. Hearn ain't done shit. 37 years old, no momentum. I already know what's going to happen. Pulev would be at least, there'll be some resistance at least. Maybe Pulev could land some big shots. But style-wise, he looks tailor-made for Anthony Joshua. And Hughie Fury could be the most difficult fight, but the most financially rewarding for all the parties involved. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.